Yeah, shalom, shalom, mic check, most high in Christ bless, mic check, mic check. Let me see here real quick. Bear with me. Mic check, 1, 2. Alrighty, y'all. Alrighty. Shalom, shalom. Most high in Christ bless. Let me transition this real quick. Alrighty. Shalom, shalom. Most high in Christ bless. My name, I'm Officer Nahum with IUIC Raleigh. Here to bring you history in the AM in the morning. The title today is Our Father Jacob's Journey. Okay. That's what the title is. The title is Our Father Jacob's Journey. Alrighty. So hope you all have been paying attention to the trilogy, you know what I'm saying, as far as me going through our forefathers and, you know what I'm saying, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and, you know, the trilogy in Genesis. So with that said, we're gonna start off here in Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. So, you know, for those who don't know, I last left off at Genesis chapter 27 last time I went in. All right. So we'll go ahead on and get started here. This is Genesis chapter 28 and verse 1. So Genesis chapter 28 verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So this is our forefather Isaac. Isaac was letting his son Jacob know, hey, don't take a wife of these other nations, okay? Right? You know, he's letting them know, hey, don't deal with these other women. It's basically going into interracial marriage, okay? Then verse 2, it says, Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother, okay? In verse 3 it says, And God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee that thou mayest be a multitude of people, okay? So that's what he's letting them know. He said, hey, you go here, go find somebody of your own nation, your own kindred, right? So let me go ahead. I'm going to take you to the map here. Bear with me real quick. Let me transition so you guys can kind of see what's going on. There it goes. Transition this real quick. All right, so y'all can see the map. Open up the map here on my end. I got the book here where it shows the map a little bigger. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got squints in my eyes and all that little bitty map. Okay, this is the map of Jacob's journey right here. Hope you all can see what I can see. You know what I'm saying? That's on the screen. So we'll see there in Jacob's journey, right? So we're seeing our forefather Jacob. He's going to be making this trip up here to a place called Haran, okay? That's where, like, Padanaram is. You'll see, as you look on the map, you will see where it is right here. Let me see. You will see him. Bear with me real quick. So he's there in the land of Canaan, right? You know, so he's letting us know. You see Canaan down there in that area? You see, that's where they was dwelling at in that area. Okay, so I want to say, where is it at real quick? Where are they at right here, real quick? We'll see where we left off at. Bear with me. Okay, all right. So yeah, so they're in that area. So one of these little towns that we see here with little cities. This is where he was dwelling at. And he was like, hey, look, I need you to go up there and go find you a wife, right? So I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read chapter 28, verse 1 again. It said, And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Okay, So we're gonna let's go back in time. We'll go back to his forefather, to his dad. We'll go to Genesis chapter 24. So this is where Isaac got it from right here. Genesis chapter 24, and we'll go to verse 3. Genesis chapter 24 and verse 3. And this is Abraham, right? So Abraham is speaking to his elder servant to go find Isaac a wife, okay? So verse 3, and I will make thee swear by the Lord and God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, okay? Remember, he's dwelling in the land of Canaan, as a stranger. He know that land is going to be inherited to him. But he said, hey, I don't want my son, dealing with the Canaanite women, okay, into interracial marriage, right? So verse 4 says, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred and take a wife unto my son Isaac, okay? God said, he's letting them know, said, this is, you're going to take a wife of my kindred, okay, of my peoples. So we go back here to Genesis chapter 28 and verse 1. Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padanaram, right? So Padanaram, as we look, he said, go on, I need you to travel up all the way to Haran, that you will see on the top, right? You'll see that city called Haran. That's where Padanaram is at, right? He said, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, right? So now he's going to his uncle's house, okay? I'm sorry, not his uncle, his grandfather's house, up in that area. And take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother, which is his uncle. Okay, so now he got to go and marry one of his cousins, all right? And verse 3 says, and God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. Okay, so I'm gonna transition back so you guys can see me. So he's letting them know, he's like, hey, the Most High gonna bless you. You know what I'm saying? If you deal with your own kindred, you deal with your own people, right? So, I just want to show y'all that little map there. You know what I'm saying? So you can see like where he journeyed up, where he was headed to go find his wife. All right, so we're gonna go to Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12 real quick. Tobit 4 and 12, where is another little precept. Tobit, he quotes the same thing. So Tobit 4 and 12 says, this Tobit speaking to his son Tobias, said, beware of all whoredom, my son. So if you, date outside your race, what I'm saying, that, not date, but if you marry outside your race, it's considered whoredom. He says, so beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife. All right, don't take of another nation. All right, he said, which is not of thy father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets. Noah, Abraham, just like we're going to Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is what we're reading about, Jacob, right? He said, remember, my son, that our father from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, right? And were blessed, and their children and their seed shall inherit the land, okay? So he's letting you know, say, hey, you deal with your people, okay? Don't go out here and start dealing with these other nations and stuff like that. Why? Because it causes confusion, They go back to, if we go to read Deuteronomy, I'll touch on that as well. But I'm going to read on Tobit 4 and 13. Now, therefore, my son, love thy brethren. So love your people, right? And despise not in thy heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people. Okay, so that's who your brethren is. Yes, the sons and daughter of your people, and not taking a wife of them, for in pride is destruction and much trouble, and in lewdness is decay and great want. For lewdness is the mother of famine. Okay, all right. So he let you know, don't do that thing. Don't go and marry these other women, right, from these other nations, right. So let's go to Deuteronomy 7 real quick. Just giving you some basic scripts here, about interracial marriage, right? So it's Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 3, right? So this is when we came into the land of Canaan. This is after the wilderness, now we're coming into the land, so we're getting laws given to us. Hey, when you come into the land, don't deal with these other people, okay? So Deuteronomy 7 and 3 said, neither shalt thou make marriages with them, okay? It said, thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his son, nor daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Right? So don't give, don't have your sons don't marry their daughters, like what we see in here, like how Abraham told his servant to find Isaac a wife of his kindred. Same thing, Isaac is following that same law that his father instilled in him. Okay, he says neither shall this is Deuteronomy 7:3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Okay, so don't we can't interracial marriage, right? Don't give your daughters to them. Don't give your sons to them, for they will turn away thy son from following me. Okay, I mean why? They're gonna because you'll end up start what do you call it? Trimming your ways, to seek love, You'll let her start doing what she does, because she come up a different way. She doesn't come up under the customs. She's not part of the promise, okay? So neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. Okay, now they're going to idolatry and worshiping strange gods, right? That they may serve other gods, so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Okay? So that's what he's saying. Don't mess with them, because they're going to cause you to go off. Okay? All right, so we'll go back here to Genesis chapter 28 real quick and verse 3. Right? So Genesis chapter 28 and verse 3, and God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. So he bless us in all our generations. Why? Because, we would, instill our laws and commandments, like what you read in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 through 8. Okay, we start governing ourselves. We start doing what thus said the Lord. We won't go off and astray. But when we start cleaving to these other nations, man, we get. Hey, that's why we came here in slavery. Look at the time of the month. Our people got Christmas. They done did Thanksgiving. Now they're gonna be celebrating the false New Year. Easter, so on and so forth. I'm just showing you how we'll fall. We quick to jump into those customs and want to be like them. All right. So verse 4. This Genesis chapter 28, verse 4, he said, give thee the blessing of Abraham, right, to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham, right? Because that land, he's going to inherit that whole land of Canaan, okay, right? He said, okay, and Isaac sent, this verse 5, and Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Okay, so now they going there to his mother, to his mom's peoples. Okay, which is Abraham's people, which is Isaac's people as well. But this is Rebekah's brother right here. They're gonna go there and he's gonna choose from one of his daughters. Okay. Verse 6, when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, right, and sent him away to Padanaram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, right? So he heard that too. Yeah, remember that law was given unto him too as well. Okay, Esau was, Esau was the cunning hunter. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. I'm gonna just show you a little video. I mean, not video. A little picture there. Jacob and Esau, for those who, who may be brand new listening or whatever. That's Jacob, right? You got Jacob to the left and you got Esau to the right. Okay, so that way you guys can see what's going on, what's taking place. All right. Let's see here real quick. So the boys, that's where the boys grew. Okay, that basically kind of go into Genesis chapter 25. Okay, when you read down, about about the morsel of meat that he gave him. He fed him, and that food, that meat wasn't right. It was red. It was bloody. Who ate it? You know, he like they meat bloody and rare, okay? All right, so let me go back. Hold on 1 second. Hit the wrong thing. All right, transition back. Okay, so now you know who Esau is, your friendly neighborhood white man, okay? All right. Let's go back here. This is Genesis chapter 28 and verse 6. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, right? So, because as we read the chapter before, you know, Jacob got the blessings, right? Esau was upset. He was angry. He wanted to kill. Jacob, okay? Because he's angry with him. He trying to say Jacob stole his birthright and all that. But remember, when you go back to Genesis 25, he gave up his birthright, okay? Why? For one morsel of meat. Well, actually, let's just to sum it up. I didn't put this in my notes, but let's go to Hebrews 12 and 16. Okay. We're gonna flip the page. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 16. All righty. Just to show you about Esau here. All right. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 16. It says, lest there be any fornicator or profane persons as Esau, right? That's who Esau is, your friendly neighborhood white man, right? Who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright, right? So for that same morsel of meat, you know, he sold his birthright. So nothing was taken from him. You know what I'm saying? And the order was, the elder gonna serve the younger, you know what I'm saying? You know, the blessings and everything that came up, that was told to Rebekah, okay? All right, so he sold his birthright. And verse 17 said, for ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, right? For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So you remember he cried, what about me? What about me, Dad? What about me? You got any old blessing from me? You know, yeah, you're gonna be the damn devil. You're going to have your time to rule, do what you need to do, but you're going to be the devil. You're going to live by the sword. You're going to be the cause of many wars and famines, and, you know, you just name it. That's you. You're going to play your part. All right, so this is Genesis chapter 28 and verse 7, right? It says, and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padanaram. So he listened to what his parents said. Now he's getting ready to journey he's on his way to go to Padanaram. Right, and it says, and Esau seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, right? So he see that he said, you know that you know his father and his mom don't like the Canaanites, right? Why? Matter of fact, we'll jump up a few verses real quick in the last. We're gonna go to the last verse in the last chapter. So Genesis chapter 27 and verse 46. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth, right? He said, if Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do to me? You know, so she's upset. They're upset. They're like, we don't want our son to do that. You know what I'm saying? We don't want them to mess with these other nations. Okay. Trying to find the verse up here. I know I'm trying to show the verse here where our forefather and foremother, how they was upset. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause Esau went on and married. He went on and married some Canaanites too. Okay. Let's see here real quick. Bear with me. Because they was like, man, why he go do that? Okay, here it is right here. So actually, it's Genesis chapter 26 and verse 33. We'll go there. All right. Let's see what it real quick. No, verse 34. It says, so this Genesis chapter 26 and verse 34. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite, right? So now he married a Hittite, which is one of these Canaanites, right? And Bashemah, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, okay? So now he done married two wives of the Hittites, right? Right, which were a grief of mine unto Isaac and to Rebekah, okay? So both his parents did not like that thing, okay? that was like, man, I'm pretty sure they'd have told, not pretty sure, I know they told him the same law. That thing, it upset them and it displeased them. So we'll go back to verse 7. Right, and we're going back to Genesis chapter 28 and verse 7. It says, and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padanaram. And verse 8, and Esau seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac, his father, right, because he done married two of them already, right? He went on and did his own thing, and they done told him, don't marry these other women. Why? Because they strange, all right? Verse 9, it said, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nabijah, to be his wife. So now he got a third wife, right? Now he got an Ishmaelite wife, who's today one of these Arabs, okay? He went on and married her, right? So, but to show you here, this is something I didn't catch until yesterday as I was reading over this. It said, then went Esau unto Ishmael. So Esau goes to the father. He goes to his uncle. He goes speak to his uncle and get one of his daughters and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, right? Abraham's son, right? So the sister of Nabijah to be his wife. So Nabijah is the oldest son. If you go back, and I think in Genesis chapter 25, right? That's one of Ishmael's oldest sons, okay? That is his oldest son. So, and that was, what says one of his sisters, right? Verse 10, and Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. So I'm going to go back to the map real quick. I'm just showing you these journeys and stuff. All right, where we at? That's Abraham's journey, so, okay. All right, we're going to transition back, y'all. We're transitioning back just to get you up to speed for those, those who are tuning in. So now I pull the map back up. So they're showing us here in verse, and what is it, what verse we at? All right, yeah, I think we're in verse 9, yeah. No, verse 10. It said, and John, the arrow that's in gold, okay? So, but he's gonna go from Beersheba all the way up to Haran. Haran is Padanaram, okay? For those who don't know. All right, so now it says he's on his way up there, right? And verse 11, it says, and he lighted upon a certain place, right? And tarried there all night, right? So now he went to a certain spot where he went to, and he stayed there all night, right? He said, because the sun was set. Oh, snap. My OBS done went out. Hold up one second. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Reconnecting. All right, y'all. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hope y'all can still hear me. Yeah, my connection had went out or whatever. The connection went out, but I think it's back on now. So as you can see the map, I'll go back in. All right. We in Genesis chapter 28 and verse 11. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set, right? So now it's getting dark, okay? He said, and he took off the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and laid down in that place to sleep, right? So now he went to a certain spot here. As y'all see where the arrow is right there, it's going toward Bethel, right? So this is the place where he's resting at, where he's gonna where he's sleeping for the night, okay, on his journey, right? As y'all see there, on the map, you see Bethel is right under Canaan, okay, for those who are looking at the map. All right, so and then you notice they say he took some stones, right? And he laid them stones there and used them stones for pillows, right? So you got to ask yourself, we know pillows are soft, right? It's a soft, thing that we lay our head on and go to sleep. Like nowadays, a lot of us, we may have our hair braided or we got our hair cut. You see me, I'm kind of losing my head, I'm saying, forehead bald. But I ain't going to use no stones to lay my head on because it's going to hurt my head. You know what I'm saying? But they're showing you our forefather Jacob, he had a fro. Okay? He had to have a fro. All right? So, just so y'all know, you know what I'm saying? Let me see here. Let's see if I got go over, see if I got another picture here real quick. I got a bunch of other pictures from the last class. I just go to this one here. All right. Hold on, once I'm going to transition here. So, as you see Jacob, our forefather Jacob, he got the fro right there, right? So, in order for him to lay his head down on something soft, something hard, in order for him to use it as a pillow, his head, he had to have a lot of woolly hair, okay? He had to have a whole head full of wool. old big nappy fro, kinky head, that way he can lay his head down, and the afro itself would have to be like the cotton or wool that's inside or feathers or whatever that's inside the pillow to make it soft and comfortable. Okay, so that lets you know, because Esau can't do it with his hair like dog and stringy goat hair. They can't do that. So I'm gonna transition it back here to this picture here, to the back to the map. So get that set up. All right. So just to go back to the lesson here. All right, so we hear verse 11, right? All right, so I'm just going to read the bottom. Well, I'll read it again. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set. And he took up the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, okay, and lay down in that place to sleep, right? So verse 12 says, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it, right? So now he's asleep right now. He's resting, now he's dreaming a dream, right? He's not having a deep sleep. But the Most High giving him a vision while he's there, he's got a vision, of what he's seeing. The Most High opening his eyes, his understanding to show him, hey, look, this right here, this place here is important right here. What you seeing. I'm letting you see something that a normal man can't see. All right. Let's see here real quick what I got here. So we in verse 12, right? So we're gonna go to precept here, John 1 and 51 real quick. We're going to the book of John, chapter 1 and verse 50. We'll start at let's see here. All right, we're going to jump up though. All right, let's go to verse 45. Okay, John chapter 1, verse 45 says, Philip findeth Nathanael and saith unto him, we have found him of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Okay, let you know that Joseph was Christ's biological father, for those who tuning in. And that immaculate conception, and nobody's ever been born without an earthly father. There's no way he could have a tribe without an earthly father, so on and so forth. All right. So his mom and his dad had sex, and yes, his father Joseph do descend from the lineage of kings. That's the only way Christ could come from David. Okay, from all the lineage of the kings. Okay. You can read about that, I believe, in Luke chapter 2. All right, but anyways, let's don't want to go off topic. So verse 46, this is John chapter 1, verse 46. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, come and see. The Nazareth was the hood, okay? That's the ghetto, the slums. That's where, like we say, anything good come out of Compton, you know what I'm saying? Or South Side Chicago, or West Side of Chicago, or places like that. What do you call it? Boogie Down Bronx. All these places got names. They known for the hood, right? And of course other cities and stuff. I ain't got time to name everything, but everybody has one, and where they from, right? So verse 47, Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and said of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no God. He said, I see Nathanael, this is a good man, this is an Israelite brother right here. This brother about his people, right? Verse 48, Nathanael said unto him, whence knowest thou me? He said, how you know me, Christ, And Jesus answered and said unto him, before that Philip called thee, before you went and had spoke with Philip, he said, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee. I seen you under the fig tree. I see what you was doing. He was able to explain to him what he was doing. And he like, man, ain't no way he gonna know what I was doing, because he was, amongst himself, doing whatever he was doing. Only he would know. Okay. But Christ knew it. Christ knew what we all do and can see things, right? Verse 49, Nathanael answered and said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. Thou art the King of Israel. That's how he said, you know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody going to know what I was doing. Verse 50, Jesus answered and said unto him, because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? He said, do you believe? He said, he said, because you believest thou, he said, thou shalt see greater things than these. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to see more, okay? Let's see what he's showing him, what he's going to be able to see. And he said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter you shall see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. He said, you're going to see greater things, basically showing him, hey, you're going to be able to see something that's going to take place. You're going to see the angels of God, descending from heaven, okay? So we'll go back here to Genesis chapter 28 and verse 12. So Genesis chapter 28, hold on, I might have jumped the thing. I forgot to transition back. My apologies. So Genesis chapter 28 and verse 12. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. Okay? And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it, right? He said, coming in, coming from heaven, from the third heavens, and coming on down, coming up, back and forth, up to the earth, okay? And behold, the Lord stood above it, right? Also, I just thought about something. Y'all remember when, if we go and read in 1 Samuel, right, and you read about when Saul went to go seek a witch, right, with familiar spirits. Remember, she said she saw the same thing, right? She was able to see that in the spiritual realm of I see gods ascending, and on the earth, or going, so I see those spirits, descending up, and and stuff like this. So she was able to see what Jacob saw as well. Okay, the Most High opened her understanding to see that, but also let Saul know, hey, you about to die. You and all your sons. We'll go back here real quick. All right, so verse 13, and behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. And he said, the God of Isaac, the land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed, right? He said, and thy seed shall be the dust of the earth, right? I mean, you're going to be just like, you can't measure sand or the dust if you pick it up in your hand, every grain. No. He said, you're going to be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east, and to the north and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all families of the earth be blessed. Meaning, there's going to come a time where we're going to be scattered abroad on the face of the earth, okay? How we're going to be scattered through different captivities, slavery, the main known slavery, so that we know of the last major slavery was the transatlantic slave trade, okay? Also, during the migration too of the Northern Kingdom when they came over on this side of the earth, okay? When you read about that in 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 40 on down, okay? So, it's been a lot of different things that done transpired and took place, and then a lot of displacing of us, where we were at, okay? So he said, wherever we be scattered at, he said, all families of the earth should be blessed, not talking about the other nations. Yeah, remember, wherever we get scattered at, so you're going to be called of a different nation. Not like all of us, it's called African American, Native American, Hispanic. Some of us, if you a citizen of Portugal, you call Portuguese. If you in the Caribbean islands, you consider a West Indian black or a Haitian black, Puerto Rican. I'm just showing you all these different names that we being called. You go to the Canary Islands, you go to, we scatter abroad in Africa too, and we called by our ethnic names, like the Ashanti tribe, or Cameroon, all these. I'm just showing you for example. So wherever you scatter that, you're gonna be called by another nation, by another name, and that's what it's saying. You will be blessed, and once you keep my commandments and stuff, you'll be, you're gonna be blessed. When you repent. All right. So we go back to Genesis chapter 28 and verse 15. He says, "And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places, whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land." Wherever you going to, so I'm going to bring you back into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. Okay. He's letting them know, you going to go here. I know you're on the way to go find a wife. You go find go take care of that. Go do that. But I'm going to bring you back here. Okay. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep, and he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not." So he like, "Hey, the Lord's in this place." He said, "But I didn't know." You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, that thing wasn't revealed until he was in his dream, in his vision. Right? Verse 17, "And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place?" He said, "This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Right? So he said, this where he saw the angels ascending and descending. He said, this is the gate of heaven. Okay, let you know this is like a portal. It's basically what he was seeing. He was seeing a portal like how where the angels descend and ascend. Okay, something like, I'm just putting it like how we see movies today, like Stargate, different things. We see them sci-fi movies and stuff. Like you said, Esau knows stuff, man. I'm just saying some things could be real. You know what I'm saying, or like you said, we know the angels can teleport and do all type of stuff, but he's able to see where they was coming from. You know what I'm saying, and direction. From up and down. Okay, so. He said that got to be the place right there, okay? So go back here to verse 17 again, Genesis 28 and 17. "And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." All right, verse 18. "And Jacob rose up early in the morning, right, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it," right? So just to show you, proving the transition is back to the map. So remember how we look where he went from Beersheba and he's on his way to Bethel, okay, and gold. So this is where he's traveled to, all right, where he's at, right? So back to, I'm reading verse 19. "And he called the name of that place Bethel," okay? He said, "But the name of that city was called Luz at the first." So at first that place, that area was called Luz by the Canaanites. That's where they had named it first. But Jacob said, "Nah, this place here is called Bethel." And I got a little number beside mine that says Bethel is the house of God. That's what it means, the house of God, Bethel. All right. But then verse 20, "And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in his way, that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on." Right? He said, that's what he was saying. He said, when he put in this vow, he said, "Hey, is the Lord gonna be with me?" He told him to travel. He said, "Go ahead and make your travel there, right? So I need you to be, He said, if the Lord, so I'm gonna read that again. "And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in his way," meaning protect him, right? He said that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God. He said, that's going to be my God. That's my sign. And I'm going to vow this vow. I'm going to trust in the Lord, right? With, and not do my own thing, So that's what he was saying when you jump back up to, let's see here. Yeah, verse 15. We jump back at 28 and 15, Genesis. "And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places, whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee, and I have done that which I have spoken of thee. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna bring you back to your to this place because you're gonna inherit this land, okay? Just like I told your father, right? So with that, let's go to, let me see, we're gonna go here right fast. Go to what is it? I have my precept here. All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 8. Proverbs 30 and 8. Just showing you what he's, what he's talking about. I'll give you some precepts. In Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 8. Right, so he said, remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food covenant for me. Okay? He said, just feed me, he said, the Lord going to feed me and take care of me. This is like our forefather Solomon, this is what he's saying. Just give me food on, I don't need all those riches and everything. You just lead me and, everything going to be all right. So I'm going to put my hope into you. Right, so now, let's go to 1 Timothy 6 and 6 real quick. Another precept. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 6. All right. It says, but godliness with gain. No, actually, let's see. Godliness with it says, but godliness with contentment is great gain, right? So, but means only, right? So only godliness with contentment is great gain, right? It says, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out, right? Verse 8, and having food and raiment, let us be there with content. So we got to be in content with what we have. And that's what he's saying. He said, if the Lord be with me, I'm in content. I put my trust in the Lord. I'm not, going to do my own thing. I know the Lord going to deliver me. He said it, and that's how I'm going to move. He's going to protect me. He's going to be my shield and buckler. Okay? All right. Let's see. We go back here to Genesis chapter 28. And I read verse 21 again. So that I come again to my father's house. And actually, verse 20. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in his way, this way, and that I go and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, give me food and clothes. He's gonna take care of me. He says, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, right? So I come back here in peace with no harm, no issues or anything like that, right? He says, then shall the Lord be my God, okay? And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, okay? And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. So I'm going to give the tenth unto thee. So whatever he gives me, the increase and things, I'm going to give him the tenth, right? So let's go here. Go to Leviticus 27 and 30 real quick. So the book of Leviticus, chapter 27, and verse 30. Right. Let's see here. All right. So this is a law that was given, to the, for the Israelites, right? So this is Leviticus 27 and 30. And all the tithes of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord, right? So this is, when these laws were being instituted to us, while the law of sacrifice and offerings and stuff, the tithing. That's what tithe is about. It's about sacrifice or burnt offerings and stuff like that. Okay, so that thing had to be reinstituted to us, a certain way. What I'm saying? There was an order, works and stuff that had to be done, in a divine order how the Lord commanded us. Okay, with the Levites being in the office. So go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 31. 2 Chronicles 31, we're going to read verse 5 and 6. All right, 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 5. And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel brought in the abundance, the first fruit of corn, wine, and oil, and honey, and of all the increase of the field, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly. They brought all that stuff in. Verse 6, and concerning the children of Israel and Judah, both northern and southern kingdoms, that dwelt in the cities of Judah They also brought in the tithes of oxen, right? It's oxen and sheep, and the tithes of holy things which were consecrated unto the Lord their God, and laid them by heaps. Okay, so this is what this is like the order and stuff, the law that was given. What the Israelites had to do. Okay, so same thing what our forefather said. He said, I'm going to, whatever the Lord bless me with, I'm going to give a tenth of it to the Lord. Okay, of course we don't do we don't do tithing. Tithing goes into sacrifice. You're bringing in your first fruits of the animals, and you sacrificing those animals, burning them, or you're taking the first fruit, whatever you get out off the crops, and you burning that. Right now we just do, we do off, we do what do you call it? What's it called? Alms. You know what I'm saying? We do alms deeds and stuff like that. We pay alms. That's what you pay. That's what alms is, going into monies and stuff. That's how you will take care of the congregation. If people fall on hard times, that's what that's for. It ain't for the money to go to, your sanctuary leader to spend up and he become rich and you still be poor. No, that's not what that's for. That's for you to help you when you fall on hard times. Okay, and to deliver you from evil, from death, a multitude of sins, all that. You know what I'm saying? That's what the tithe does. Okay, all right. So now we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 29. Right. So we just read Genesis 28. So now we're in Genesis chapter 29. Right. So it says, then Jacob went on his journey. Right, and came into the east. So now I'm gonna go to the map here and make the transition. All right. So now as we see on the map, Jacob, he goes on his journey, and he goes to, he's making his journey, like it says. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east, right? And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. So now, they got the animals, they even know to come there to get, like the sheep and them, this is where they will go get water and stuff like that. And they knew the water was here. So they will come up there, and they knew a specific time, hey, everybody goes there to get the water, right? So, like I said, as he done made his journey, now he done made it up there too. He's up in Haran now. He done made that journey. He done went through all these different towns and stuff, and he made his way up there. Okay. Let's see here real quick. Let me put this back right here. So, I just want to show y'all what was taking place where he's at now. Transitioning back. All right. So, verse. So yeah, remember, there's a great stone on top of the mouth of the well. Okay. So it said in verse 3. It said, and thither were all the flocks gathered, right? So they were all the flocks. It said, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place, right? So this is what they did. So this is how the people of the east, you know what I'm saying, where they dwelt at up there in Haran or Padanaram, this is how they controlled the water. I guess people just don't go there and have full control of the water. So they put something up there to keep people from going, I guess so the water don't run out and stuff, or people do stupid stuff, but at one point in time that stone wasn't there, when we read, if you go back early in Genesis chapter 24, you remember Abraham's eldest servant, he went up there to find Isaac's wife, Rebecca, right? She went to go water the flock too as well, but that stone wasn't on there. You didn't read nothing about that stone, but now, it's funny, it come to me now, but now we hearing about it during Rachel's time. I'm going to say it like that, okay? All right, let me read that again. Verse 3, and thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, right, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And they said so let you know, with multiple people to pick this stone up. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? He's like, where you guys from? He said, and they said, of Haran. Of Haran are we, so they saying, we from Haran. That's where we from, that town. And he said unto them, he said, know ye Laban, the son of Nahor, right? You know Laban? You know who Laban is? And they said, we know him. And he said unto them, is he well? Is he doing good? Is he alive? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel, his daughter, cometh with the sheep. Now Rachel is coming up there, with the sheep, to come water, so just like how his mother did went to water the sheep during the time the servant when he went to go find Isaac's wife, okay? Most High made that thing happen for them to meet a specific time, a specific place, He make things happen, You read about that in, in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9, how, Samuel run into Saul. There's certain things that happen, and the Most High make it that, you're going to run into this person. That's why, sometimes you might be somewhere, you might decide to go, you were thinking to go one way, and you were like, you know what, let me try this other place. Let me go this direction and this location. And then all of a sudden you run into a brother or a sister that, who may question you about your fringes or ask you about your faith, and then next thing you're able to give them a flyer or a card, like the little business card flyer, or you're able to edify them, and that's just how things happen, you be like, man, I knew it was something, and these things here takes place like that, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna jump to a scripture here real quick. Let's see here real quick. Bear with me. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 22. Proverbs 20 and 22. No, not 22. I'm sorry. Verse 24. All right. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24. It said, "A man's going are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way?" Right? We don't understand. We just know we're going in this direction. Something we can feel in our spirit, like, hey, don't, you might go here every day this one way. You say, let me just try this other route. Let me go this way, but you don't know that's the Lord putting the Spirit on you to go that way. Okay, so I'm gonna read that again. Proverbs 20:24. Man's going are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Okay, that's something we have to meditate on. Okay, all right. You read about that also in Job too. He just steer man from going to do his own thing, but he make him go in the way he want him to go. Okay, all right. Let's see here real quick. Back to what time is it? Okay. Let's see, Genesis chapter 29 and verse 4. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? Where you guys from? And they said, of Haran are we. And he said unto them, know ye Laban, son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. We know who he is. And he said unto them, is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep, right? And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together, right? So he like, man, so they come in here kind of early, he said, water ye the sheep and go and feed them, right? So this is what was being said. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep, so that's like, I guess, the order or whatever, how they had set up, right? Verse 9, and while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, right? So now Rachel's coming up there with her father's sheep, for she kept them. She was the keeper of the sheep, okay? That was her job, at her father's house, right? Let's see. Yeah, verse 10. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth. So you got to remember, this is a great stone. This stone had to be heavy. Remember, it took multiple men to roll this stone and move it out of the way. You got to look, Jacob moved that thing by himself. That's, you got to just imagine how strong, Jacob was. He couldn't have been no little bitty man or anything like that. He had to be of, a man of a big countenance. Not fat or nothing like that, but he had to be muscled and strong. in order to move that big stone by himself, right? And let me read that. Let me read that again. Verse 10. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept, right? So, not saying he went there and he tongue kissed her or nothing like that. He went and greeted her, he, hugged her, embraced her like, oh man, cause this is, his family and stuff, right? And also he had to be like, hey, he like, hey, I come here to find a wife. He's like, man, that way he ain't got to go search and look and find, to go through all that, Most High made it that, hey, the Lord told him, I'm going to be with you on this journey, you know what I'm saying? So you just follow my lead, just go and I'm going to make everything prosperous for you, okay? All right, and verse 11, and Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept, right? Verse 12, and Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. So I'm of your people, you know what I'm saying? I'm your family, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. So she left to go tell her dad. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house, right? So he ran up to him and embraced him, greetings to him, and they brought him to the house. You know what I'm saying? This is something what we did as a custom of us, and he went and brought him in the house and showed him some hospitality, right? And he told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, he said, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. You my peoples, you know what I'm saying? Now, he can look, he can tell, probably see the resemblance, some of his mom, features on him, and he know how Abraham looked, you know what I'm saying? He like, hey, you know what? You look like, you look like our people, we got similarities, right? All right, so it says, surely thou art my bone and my flesh, and he abode with him the space of a month. So during this time, it's been about good 4 weeks or so, so this how long, Jacob was there for, right? And for the time being, he stayed there for a month, right? And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, he said, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught, Hey, you staying here, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you should, work for me, so why you stay here? He said, tell me, what shall thy wages be? Let me know what I need to pay you. And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, right? He said the oldest one was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel, right? So he saw 2 daughters. He said Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored, right? So, verse 17, what it's talking about, she was tender-eyed, it doesn't mean she was like ugly or busted or anything like that. She was pretty too. She was a pretty sister as well. But, but he was like, but the one that he wanted was Rachel looked it better than her. You know what I'm saying? She was okay, but that other one, that's the one I want. I want Rachel, you know what I'm saying? That's the one he met first, and the one that he seen, he already had his eyes on her. Right, so go back into verse 18. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, he said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, that younger daughter. So these, like he said, this part of the wages. So you know what? He said, I will work for you for 7 years, you know what I'm saying, in order so I can get Rachel, you know what I'm saying, so I can marry her. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee that I should give her to another man. He said, abide with me. He said, it's better for me to do that. This is what they talking, they're agreeing, you know what I'm saying? And, they're agreeing to as far as family, and, how can you say? I'm pretty sure they had something written out, some kind of agreement, you know what I'm saying? As far as Rachel, right? Said, and Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, right? He finished his 7 years, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had for her. So he's there to see her every day, so he's able to prove her, you know what I'm saying? Like the scripture tells us, Sirach 6 and 7. Let me get that real quick. Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7, right? So Sirach 6 and 7, it says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him, right? So, this is what he's doing. For them 7 years, he's in the proving stage, He proved her for 7 years. He got to see how she is, what she likes, what she's into. So during that time, he was able to kind of talk with her, spend time, he didn't do nothing sexual with her or anything, but he was able to kind of learn more about her, So there's a lot you can learn from somebody in 7 years. Usually we prove people for about a year or two or so, but hey, shoot, some people even go short of 6 months or whatever. But we was in the world, a lot of us made the mistake and we didn't get to prove our wives, or you wives didn't get to prove your husband, that well. You didn't get to know them. All right, so go back here to where we left off at. Yeah, verse 20. So Genesis chapter 29 and verse 20. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her, right? Verse 21. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled that I may go in unto her. He said, my days, they fulfilled, so hey, it's time for me to get married, to consecrate this marriage, to get things right. So he's like, hey, I did my 7 years. Let's go ahead on and, take care of the matter. Verse 22, and Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast, right? So now he got everybody there. Made a feast, wedding feast, is what it's going into. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, right? So you got to think what took place here. So they got a feast. They was married, you had drinks, you had a good time. So, he there, he laying down, he probably had a few drinks and stuff. I ain't saying he was drunk, but, he feeling good, he having a feast, he's married, and he getting married, And he said, and it came to verse 23, and it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. So he took her on in, and he got to think about how he did that thing, man. At first, he saw he got married, so he had to see Rebecca during his marriage. And then now this dude be sneaky and be like, you know what? I'm gonna bring him the other daughter. That's some nigga stuff. Just let you know, he did some foul stuff. It said, and Laban gave unto his, he said he gave him Leah, right? So he went in and slept with Leah. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Ziplah, his maid, for an handmaid, right? So this, he said, this is going to be your handmaid, that's going to be there to support you and take care of you. Verse 25, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. So he wake up like, what the hell is this? He's like, hold up for a minute. This dude pulled a rabbit in a hat trick on me. he done slid the other daughter on me, and he ain't even know. You got to think about it. So you could tell he had to be, he had a good time that night before. He wasn't, it was dark. He didn't know what was going on. But it also tell you too that she had to, that she wasn't like ugly either. She was pretty and everything, but his eyes were set for one daughter, and then probably, and also they sisters, so they had similarities, so they looked at alike, just one just looked better than the other. That, just like with anything. Like you go to a place to go buy a car, it could be two of the same car, but you like that particular car, I like this color, or I like something about this model versus the other model. I don't want that one. I want this one. So this is what you pick and choose, right? It's your preference. Okay? All right, so, verse 25, and just Genesis chapter 29 and verse 25. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. It was Leah, right? He like, damn. He said, and he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? He said, what you done did, man? What kind of foolish, what kind of craziness you done did? he said, did not I serve with thee for Rachel? He said, didn't we agree to that, man? He's coming to talk to his father-in-law slash uncle. He's like, hey man, I told you I wanted that daughter, right? He said, wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? You tricked me, man. You fooled me. He said, why would you do that? So now, Jacob's like, damn, you know what? This dude, something ain't right with him, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure he done seen some other stuff, prior to. But now this thing here's a big thing here. Now you done tricked me with the daughters, right? You gave me the older daughter, right? So verse 26, and Laban said, it must not be so done in our country, right? To give the younger before the firstborn. You know what I'm saying? So he come up with some, made up some stuff, like, nah, this is how we do down here. Like, nah, man, that ain't what we agree on. We said something else, right? So now this is what Laban said. Laban said, fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou hast served with me yet 7 other years. So now he got to go another 7 years. So he got to go 14 years, you know what I'm saying, as a total, you know what I'm saying, in order to, to get Rachel, you know what I'm saying. Right, so, all right, verse 28. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, right? So that week is going into years, okay? So, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. So now he got both sisters as his wife, okay? He married, he married both of them. Excuse me. And Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter, Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid, right? So now she's got a different handmaid as well, right? All right, and let me see, verse 30. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, right? So he loved, he just like you said, he had the one that he had his eyes on was the first one he met at the well, right? He saw her at the well, and this is who, who he wanted to be with. This is who he loved. He truly loved her, because he did 14 years just for that one sister, you know what I'm saying, for Rachel. He didn't come there for Leah, but shoot, hey, he ended up getting two sisters for the price of, for the one, you know what I'm saying? Right, so let me go here real quick. Cause that's because the father did some beguile, some evil, some Negro stuff, we'll read more on that maybe on the next go around, looking at the time here, on the next chapter 30. All right, but I will go ahead back to verse 29. Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years, right? So that's them 14 years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren, right? So, the Lord seen that thing, like, nah, I'm going to open this sister's womb. Because they want, but she didn't do nothing wrong. I mean, yeah, she didn't do nothing wrong. Leah was there, she followed what her father told her to do. She didn't, she didn't know. She so she like, hey, this is what I gotta do. I'm in my father's house, so she get put into that thing. But Jacob didn't get upset with her either, because she's being obedient to her her father, you know what I'm saying? We call it the law and we get to the law in Exodus chapter 20, don't honor thy parents. That's it right there. Honor thy mother and thy father, so that your days be for your days on the earth, you can live longer. All right. So verse 30. Verse 31. So, and when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel's was barren, right? So he closed Rachel's womb, but he opened up Leah, right? And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. So Reuben is the firstborn son, of the Israelites, right? Of the tribe of Israel, of the 12 tribes of Israel, he's the first. Said, for she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Right? Now, therefore, my husband will love me. You know what I'm saying? So she's like, you know what? He going to love me because I gave him his firstborn son. You know, that's what her mindset was at. Right? And she conceived again and bare a son and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. Okay? So just run this back up. So just let you know what Reuben means. Let's see here real quick. Reuben means see a son. That's what it means, see a son. And Simeon means that is hearing. Okay? So I'm going to go back. Let me go back. This verse 33. And she conceived again and bare a son and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, you know what I'm saying? So she know the Lord, you know, heard that she was hated, you know, because she had, you know, she prayed, you know what I'm saying, about this thing, you know, and, you know, she said, my Lord hate me, you know what I'm saying? But she know the Lord heard her, you know what I'm saying, heard her cry, and he opened the womb again, so she bare another son called Simeon. That's what Simeon means. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me. So that's what the word join, because I have borne him 3 sons, therefore was his name called Levi. Levi means joined, okay? That's what that went into. Now, verse 35, and she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now I will praise the Lord. So remember, Yahweh's praise or the Lord's praise. Therefore she called his name Judah and left barren. So now we read about the first 4 sons, you know what I'm saying? You know, that we read about, you know, they all the names have a meaning to it, you know, and this now we're reading about, you know, how they got the names and what was taking place during that time of these sons right here. So, you know, so they left barren, you know, so at this time now she's left barren, you know, at this particular time. Now she done gave 4 sons to first 4 sons to Jacob. Okay, so he got his first 4 sons. These are the 4 oldest boys right here, right? And they all came from Leah. Okay, they all came from Leah, and you know, like you said, as we'll read on as we go further more into the other chapters and stuff. You know, we'll get to them. You know, my next lesson, Lord's willing. And you know, I've seen the time is like 6:13. You know, if I had more time, and I would just continue to go. But I know chapter 30 is kind of a lengthy chapter. You know, and I would like to take my time in order to, you know what I'm saying, to go into it with y'all. You know, so that way you guys can gain something from it and learn something from it. You know, hey, as we reading this stuff, hey. At the same time, you know, hey, the Most High opened up my understanding more. You know, there's certain things I'm seeing in here too that, you know, I didn't catch the first time or the other times I've read it, you know, prior to. You know, now I'm seeing that how they got the names. You know, all the names, you know, was through Leah. Leah was like, okay, you know, it was all because she felt hated from Jacob. She felt Jacob didn't, you know, she knew Jacob didn't love her like he loved Rachel, you know what I'm saying? And so she felt that she didn't feel that connection, you know, of the same love that he had for her, you know. So now, you know, so she wanted him to love her, you know what I'm saying, as well the same way, you know, because she was able to give him these sons, you know what I'm saying? And you know, as we read on, I don't want to jump the gun on the other chapters and stuff about Leah. And how Rachel felt about Leah, you know, how they felt toward each other, you know what I'm saying? We'll read up on that on the next go around. But anyways, y'all, hope y'all gained something from the lesson. You know, just wanted to show y'all some of them journeys. You know, let me transition back. I got a little time to talk, to go on a little righteous rant. Let me stop. So as we was looking again, I'm gonna go back into the map. Y'all see where we started at, and Jacob's journey. So Jacob, you see right here, Beersheba, which is at the bottom. You see the goal where it starts at with the arrow. So we read where this is where Jacob was dwelling at with his parents, okay, with Isaac and Rebekah. Esau stayed there, was there too as well. So this is where they was dwelling at in Beersheba, and then he left. Went on the journey. He followed through what his parents said. Go up here to go find you a wife. Go get married from my people, my kindred. You know what I'm saying? So of course you seen where he went to Bethel. Bethel, you see, is right under Canaan. So you remember Bethel was called Luz at first, Luz. That's what the city was called by the Canaanites. But Jacob had a dream, a vision, from the Lord. The Lord gave him a vision and showed him the angel descending and ascending from heaven and from the earth back and forth, going up and down. So he changed the name of that city to Bethel, meaning the house of God. He said, this is the gate of heaven, right? Is here. So then we read, he wake up in the morning, and he go north, further north, all the way up to where you see where it says to Haran. Okay, Haran is in Padanaram. Okay, Padanaram, that's the name of the area, but the city is called Haran. That's where, where he went to. That's where Laban, Nahor, all of them had stayed at. Matter of fact, this is where Abraham, where he was at, and his native, that he was there. He stayed there. They had traveled there from Ur of the Chaldees. You know what I'm saying? Ur of the Chaldees is in Iraq, okay? Iraq, in that area. Or Mesopotamia, what they call it today. But that's where he left from there, him and his father and them, and then they went to Haran, and that's where him and Lot and all of them, and they had traveled down deeper into the land of Canaan. Following what the Lord was telling him, what I'm saying, he's gonna bless him, make him a great nation, give him a son, so on and so forth, But anyways, so that's where we left off at. He's up there still, and and his father-in-law did some some Negro stuff, stuff that some of us had got done from our friends and family, that done us wrong and told us one thing and they lied or beguiled us, what I'm saying? So, in this process, you got to remember this. So, he was there for 7 years. He got to, prove the first wife that he was tricked into, and then he got to prove the wife that he wanted for another 14 years. And also, in the same time, he was proving his father-in-law. He got to find out what type of person he was. Hey, he's like, this dude is a nigga. I don't know how you say it in Hebrew, but, he was like, man, this dude is, is wicked, is evil, he got he ain't right, you know what I'm saying? I just say it like that, the Bible speak about that, about your brothers and them doing you wrong, that's why you got to prove a friend. You got to know who they is. Don't be hasty to give them credit, because people do some wicked stuff, man. They do you wrong, no matter if it's friends or family or what. That's why all things have to be done right, and things got to be, done right, so that way you got something substantial to go by. Okay, so with that, y'all, that's the end of my lesson. Again, hope y'all gained something from it. I'm Officer Nahum with IUIC Raleigh. This is History in the AM, and the title was Our Fathers, Jacob's Journey. Okay, Our Fathers, Jacob's Journey. Lord's will, y'all tune in for the next time when I get to come in. Lord's will, I get to bring out, to go into the other chapters about Jacob. It's going to be a part 2, okay? Lord's will, a part 2. So with that, everybody, hey, shalom, Most High in Christ bless.